And quite candidly, that's what I'm most proud of at this point in my life. That's what I spend the majority of my time doing, and being a parent and being a father when I'm not doing this. I'm also an Army veteran. Spent 4 years on active duty, 4 years in the reserves. I'm an adjunct professor at CU in my spare time. I teach one class, one semester in the business school there, real estate finance, which I really enjoy. And I'm a reverse mortgage specialist. I am the producing branch manager here at Fairway Independent Mortgage in Boulder. Graduated from CU Leeds Business School in 1998. And I've been a mortgage originator and manager now for almost 19 years. In addition to that, I am truly an outdoor enthusiast. I enjoy cycling, running, skiing, camping, tennis, and pretty much anything outdoors. So just to like you all to know a little bit about who I am and what I stand for, if you will, and a little bit of my background and experience. So with that, I think it's important to get a gauge. And Catherine, I'm not monitoring the chat at this point. I've got two screens with my slides here, but if you don't mind kind of helping me out, but I'd love to really get an idea from you all as a group. Just type into the chat if you don't mind. You know, what's your opinion of a reverse mortgage? Is it 1, not good, to tell you the truth? 2, they're okay for some people. 3, I think I'll get one when I'm old enough. Really, I'd love to hear your responses and understand from the group. I will try and pull up, let's see. I can't get the chat. So I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. We have a mixture of 1s and 2s so far.
1s and 2s?
Lots of 2s and a couple of 1s, but yeah, mostly 2s.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm going to ask you a few more poll questions throughout this presentation. And the idea is really just to get a gauge of where the group is, and I'm going to try and move you guys truly from a 1 to a 2 and a 2 to a 3 throughout this presentation. So with that, Fairway Independent Mortgage. Why work with Fairway when it comes to reverse mortgages? And again, as I mentioned earlier about reverse mortgages, we really utilize a professional team approach. We've got a national reverse mortgage division that focuses 100% exclusively on reverse mortgages. All of our reverse mortgage planners have to go through a really stringent training program. We do create referral partnerships with realtors, and this is really an opportunity for you guys to work with more senior clients. And I'm going to get into that throughout the presentation here. And we do believe that we're trusted advisors who know different options and who utilize different tools. When you're dealing with senior clients, the concerns are very different. The needs are very different than a millennial, right? Or a first-time buyer, or even a move-up buyer. So we do have specialized training that we go through to understand what those senior clients and senior needs are. With that, in 2019, the 2020 numbers aren't out yet. We were ranked number 2 in the country for HECM for purchase, and that's the home equity conversion mortgage for purchase in 2019, and overall number 5 for originations in the country in 2019. So we are, what we like to say right now is we're one of the largest reverse mortgage companies in the country that nobody's ever heard of. And maybe you guys have heard of Fairway because we do have an office up north. But so let's jump into some things. And I'd like you to ask yourself, why wouldn't you get a reverse mortgage? Okay. There's a gentleman named Dr. Wade Pfau, who is a professor at the American College of Financial Planning, who has done so much research, and he's actually written 2 books now that says, use strategically. A reverse mortgage can greatly improve the sustainability of retirement income, of your retirement income. And that's really the premise that I look at with a reverse mortgage, and where I'm coming from with a reverse mortgage is really to enhance one's retirement, but also to improve the sustainability of their retirement income. Okay. Some of the things we're going to look at and talk about today is that we are really, I mean, outside of the pandemic that we're living in right now, we are at a point with our retirees in this country and the baby boomer generation that we've got almost 50% of retirees are going to run out of money before they die. That's a problem. Okay. And so again, coming at this reverse mortgage program from an angle of how do we help retirees and help seniors improve their retirement, their quality of life, and ultimately improve the sustainability of the retirement income. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from today. So let me ask you another question. And Catherine, please, if you don't mind helping me, but as a real estate professional, do you, number one, almost always talk to your senior clients about reverse mortgages, or two, only once in a while when I see there might be a need, or three, never, really don't think that they can help my clients? Just a 1, 2, or 3 really quickly, and we'll keep moving on. But again, just want to see how many folks are sometimes talking about it, never talking about it, or almost always.
I'm seeing a mix of 2s and 3s.
Okay. All right. So we're not getting a lot of people who are always talking about it, given the right situation. And that's okay. Again, my goal is to help you guys understand when the opportunity presents itself and why you should ultimately bring this up to your senior clients. For those who answered 2 or 3, why have you not talked to your clients or senior clients about purchasing a home with a reverse mortgage? Is it either 1, closing costs are too high, 2, too big of a down payment required, 3, you just don't like FHA loans, 4, too complicated, or 5, didn't know they exist? Again, if you don't mind, just a quick 1 through 5, if you don't mind, why you haven't talked to your clients about using a reverse mortgage to purchase a home. Catherine, are we still a mix, or
I'm seeing 3s and 4s.
3s and 4s. So you don't like FHA loans and too complicated. Okay, fair enough. Okay, cool. All right, and last question for now. Which thoughts do you have about reverse mortgages? And again, I'm trying to get a gauge of you guys and where your mind's at as I go through this presentation today. So number 1, the bank takes the house and ownership's given up. 2, they're too expensive to consider as a solution unless things are really bad. 3, my kids will end up with a problem and a big bill at the end. Or they're just risky and dangerous. Does anybody have any of these thoughts? And maybe you don't have any of these thoughts, but that's okay. But if you do have some of these thoughts, just put in 1 through 4 if you don't mind, or you can put in multiple.
So we've got some 3s, 1 and 4, a bit of all 4.
Okay.
Answer, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Catherine. I appreciate your help. So this is a really important one, and we're going to talk about this, but my hope is by the end of this presentation today, and I got to keep an eye on the time, but first of all, number 1, I'm going to address right now, and the bank does not actually take the house and ownership's not given up. Truth of the matter is a reverse mortgage is just like a traditional or a forward mortgage in the sense that the homeowner still owns the house. They are not giving up home ownership whatsoever. They're just not required to make a mortgage payment. And we'll talk more about that. Number 3, we heard, I think some folks say we'll end up with a big problem or a big bill. You know, it's an interesting perspective of how you look at this. And one of the things is because 95% of reverse mortgages are FHA mortgages, they are insured, which means the homeowner nor the heirs can end up with a big bill. Okay. So will the mortgage balance grow? Yes, we'll talk about that, but these are non-recourse mortgages. And I'll say that again, these are non-recourse mortgages. So the heirs cannot end up with a liability or a big problem, if you will. Matter of fact, if the homeowner ends up owing more than the house is worth, okay, if the homeowner ends up owing more than the house is worth because they've lived a very long life, then you as a realtor are going to probably end up with one of the easiest short sales you've ever done, because these are, again, FHA insured non-recourse mortgages and are guaranteed. So, and the heirs will not end up with a bill or a liability at that point. So again, just wanted to address some of these up front. We'll talk a lot more about it, but thank you guys for participating. I do appreciate it. So let's talk about some background. Okay. Some background meaning, why are we even talking about this? Well, I believe, as I mentioned earlier, as the baby boomer generation continues to age, we're sort of ending up in this perfect storm situation where unfortunately half of seniors are at risk of running out of money before they die. And why is that? Number one, we've got 10,000 people turning 62 years of age a day. Okay, that's 300,000 people aging up to retirement a month in our country. Fewer pensions and defined benefit plans. Bottom line is, we don't have the old HP or IBMs of the world where people are working for 25, 30, 35 years at these companies where they're receiving a pension plan and receiving income for the rest of their life. Most people have converted to this 401k program, right? And employees of corporations have to put money into this 401k so that then they have money left, put away for retirement in the future, but they're not required to. And again, these pension plans are few and far between these days, unless you work for the government or you're an educator of some sort. Okay. Lowest return on investment for decades. At the end of the day, portfolios have seen a very low return on their investment. We're not seeing CD rates at 8%, right? We're seeing CD rates at fractions of a percent, which means portfolios aren't growing to allow folks to have their nest egg grow over time, which will then support them in future. 76% of folks today plan to delay retirement. That's a lot of folks that plan to delay retirement. Why? People are living longer, and it's really, really hard to afford a 30-year retirement. Think about retiring at 62 years old, living to 92, and not having enough income for 30 years. So this is a scary one. Less than 7% of folks have long-term care insurance, but approximately 70% are likely to need it. Okay, that's a huge gap in the need for long-term care. And we'll talk about how a reverse mortgage can be used sometimes as a in-home care or long-term care plan, if you will. Greater need for security and certainty than ever before. Again, people are living longer with the concern of outliving their money. Majority of baby boomers do have equity. As a matter of fact, there's over $7 trillion of seniors' home equity in our country. And as I mentioned earlier, if all baby boomers retire at age 62, 84% of them would be in jeopardy of running out of money. 84%, which is why people are working longer. But even if baby boomers retire at age 66, 50% would still be likely to run out of money. So at the end of the day, that's why I'm here. That's why I do this. That's why I love this product, because half of our senior population is at risk of running out of money before they die. That's a problem, in my opinion. I actually called this a pandemic before COVID because I actually believe this is a pandemic in our country today. So I'm going to keep rolling here, but Catherine, please stop me if there's anything in the chat, any questions pop up, please interject anytime. Okay. So projected changes in age population. Okay. You see this demographic here. This is age 65 to age 80. Okay. These are really folks that are eligible for a reverse mortgage. Actually, I should qualify. Anybody's eligible for a reverse mortgage from age 62 onward. You don't age out of a reverse mortgage, but you do have to be at least age 62 to qualify. But I share this with you guys because this is a huge cohort right here in our population, 65 plus. Okay. And a lot of us in real estate and lending are focusing on this age demographic down here, right? We're talking about millennials and the next wave of buyers. Great. I'm not here to tell you don't focus on them and don't work with them. But what I'm saying is don't lose sight of this large age demographic right here. And you should try and incorporate this age demographic into your business. Okay. Last year, this is data from last year. Why did households choose to move in retirement? 29% said wanted to be closer to family, wanted to reduce home expenses, change in health status, change marital status, empty nesting, wanted the cash from the sale and prior home. Okay. Last year, approximately 4.2 million baby boomers moved. Again, a large age demographic, and only 51% of them actually downsized into a smaller home. That means 49% moved into a similar size home or a larger. And retirees, once again, are predicted to have the largest household growth rate of any generation within the next 5 years. Folks, that's why I'm talking to you guys as realtors. This is a huge opportunity for you guys in your business to truly work with an age demographic that has a need and hasn't been focused on by a lot of people. Okay. This one I think is interesting because it's changed a lot with COVID, but they have a greater freedom to work from home and to choose where they want to live. And actually, I think, matter of fact, I heard on the news last night, which confirms a lot of what we already know. Even younger folks right now who are working from home have the ability to work, live almost anywhere they want right now because of COVID and working remote. But in general, this age demographic can live wherever they want. So with that, I said 51% moved to a smaller home, that 49% of folks moved into a home same size, and 30% actually moved to a larger home. So with this, you've got 36% do not anticipate moving in retirement, and that's 64% of folks actually either have moved or plan to still move in retirement. So again, this is really the background information as far as why this is important and why I'm bringing it up. Now, let's get into what a reverse mortgage is. This is what I've defined as a reverse mortgage, but a payment optional mortgage. Very, very important, okay? A lot of people believe that you just don't make mortgage payments. You're not required to make a mortgage payment. Okay? But a reverse mortgage is a payment optional mortgage. Means you can pay if you want, you can pay when you want, or you can pay on your own schedule or never make a payment as long as you live in the home. Okay, I'll say that again. You are not required to make payments as long as you live in the home, and you are always required to pay property taxes and home insurance, but you can absolutely make payments. I have many clients who make payments for tax reasons, but on their own schedule. See, a traditional mortgage requires payments like clockwork every single month. 30-year fixed rate mortgage, you have 360 payments, right? A reverse mortgage just says, you want to pay once a year? Fine. You want to pay once a quarter? No problem. You never want to pay? That's okay too. See, a lot of people, and I don't know the numbers, but a lot of people have applied and gone into these forbearance plans because of what the CARES Act has allowed. This is similar to a forbearance plan at the end of the day. You don't have to make a payment, right? As long as you live in the home. Interest is deferred until it's paid back. So yes, this is what we call a negative amortizing loan. So unlike a traditional 30-year fixed rate mortgage where your loan balance is going down over time, this is going up over time because you're not making a payment. And what that means is you're trading equity for cash flow. Okay, so you're, again, using some of your equity in order to improve your cash flow. I also look at it as converting a portion of your home equity to tax-free cash. Hopefully you guys can see this, but this looks like money, right? It's not money. This is what I use as home equity, okay? If you own a home, you've got some home equity, you can't take the chandelier off your ceiling in your dining room and go put gas in your car, right? You can't take the front door off your house and go buy groceries. Equity is an illiquid asset, right? You just can't use equity. But what you're doing is converting equity to usable tax-free cash. Okay, converting equity to usable tax-free cash. And that's what the reverse mortgage really allows you to do. I mentioned earlier, it's a non-recourse mortgage, so you can never owe more than the home itself. And therefore, you cannot pass a liability on to your heirs. Okay, so some basics. I mentioned earlier, age 62 or older, meaning one of the borrowers has to be at least 62 years of age or more to qualify. The home does have to qualify under FHA guidelines, and you do have to live in the home for at least 6 months a year. So it has to be your primary residence. Follow-up question I get a lot to this is, well, what if I have a vacation home, or what if I want to rent my house out? Again, the home that has the reverse mortgage needs to be your primary residence. So let's take an example. You've got a home here in Colorado. You get a reverse mortgage on that home that you live in, and you travel for 4 months of the year in retirement. Is that okay? Absolutely. I get a reverse mortgage on my home in Colorado. I take some equity out and I go buy a vacation home in Arizona so I can spend my winters there and be warmer. Is that allowed? Absolutely. As long as this is your primary residence. Okay. Have some clients get a reverse mortgage on their primary residence, use some equity, go buy a rental property, produce cash flow. Is that allowed? Absolutely, as long as you live in the house that has the reverse mortgage. Okay. Hopefully I've made that clear. Generally, it won't affect Social Security or Medicare benefits. I say generally, there's an asterisk because I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give tax advice. Okay. But I will tell you that, again, this does not follow the rules like the traditional Social Security rules that have to do with a limitation of income. Otherwise, your Social Security benefits will be impacted. This is not like that. Okay. The funds received from a reverse mortgage are not considered income. I'll say that again. The funds received from a reverse mortgage are not considered income. Therefore, they're not taxed, and they're considered borrowed funds. Okay. Mentioned earlier, homeowners absolutely keep title to their home, just like a traditional mortgage. Yes, there's a lien against the property, but the homeowners keep title to their home. Basic credit and income qualifications. I actually get referrals a lot of times from forward or traditional mortgage loan officers because their client can't qualify for a mortgage. Simply don't have enough income in retirement a lot of times to afford a $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 mortgage with the payments associated with that. We don't look at the traditional debt to income ratio or income or credit qualifications because there's no payment required. We're looking at, can they afford the property taxes and home insurance and home maintenance? Okay. That's the affordability and income qualifications along with the residual income calculation. Okay. How much equity can one access? Ranges between 50 to 70% roughly. These are age-based programs. The younger someone is, they'll be closer to the 50%. The older someone is, closer to 70%. Okay, these are kind of based on actuarial tables or life expectancy. So again, if someone's 62 years old, they'll be able to access close to 50%. If somebody is 90 years old, they'll be able to access closer to 70%. Okay. Once again, never required to make a monthly payment, but they are still responsible to pay property taxes and home insurance as long as they occupy the home. With that, there have been some horrible, horrible stories about reverse mortgages historically. Absolutely. Unfortunately, really sad stories. You go back to most of those stories, okay, and they're real, where someone has lost their home, okay? What you will find in many, many cases is they didn't pay their property taxes, okay? Or they didn't maintain homeowners insurance, okay? But generally it's because they didn't pay their taxes and they had a tax lien. As a realtor, you all know if you have a traditional mortgage and you don't pay your property taxes, what happens? Okay, you end up with a tax lien, you go into default, and you can lose your house. Same thing with a traditional mortgage as a reverse mortgage. You have to pay your taxes. But again, a lot of these stories that have been written over the years about folks losing their homes is because they didn't pay their taxes. And I will say there's been a lot of reform over the reverse mortgage in the last about 7 years. Okay, since about 2014, there's been a lot of reform to make it a better, safer program. So I actually look at the reverse mortgage today and tell clients this is not like the old reverse mortgage. This is a newer, safer program. Because again, back in the old days, you didn't need any income to qualify. So you literally 62 years of age, had enough equity, and you can fog a mirror, you could get a reverse mortgage. The problem was lenders weren't ensuring that someone had enough cash flow or income to be able to afford the property taxes. So people were getting into problems and getting into trouble with these tax defaults. That has since changed. We now are required to do an income qualification. It's just easier than a traditional mortgage. Okay, let's keep going here a little bit. Now, when does the reverse mortgage become quote unquote due and payable? Because again, it doesn't require a payment ever until the last living borrower permanently leaves the home, passes away, or moves into another living situation. Senior care facility, right? Assisted living facility, things of that nature. So if they permanently leave the home, okay, or they pass away, then the loan becomes due and payable. If there's a married couple and one individual moves out of the home, but the other individual's still in the home, no problem. No payments due, balance can still be deferred, okay? As long as one living borrower is still in the house. Borrower chooses to sell the property. Traditional mortgage, you've got a $500,000 home with a $200,000 mortgage balance. You sell the home, you pay off the mortgage, and the proceeds are yours. Same with a reverse mortgage. Same with a reverse mortgage. Sell your house, pay off the reverse mortgage balance, and the proceeds are yours. Okay. There are no prepayment penalties on these loans, folks. The homeowner can sell the home at any time. Okay. So there's a lot of flexibility in these programs, is just people quite candidly don't know. There's not enough education or good education in the space. I mentioned this before. I'll reiterate again. You can never owe more than the home is worth or the home value, because it is insured. And this is where you guys come in. Okay. You can purchase a home with a reverse mortgage. Okay. I'll say that again. You can buy a home with a reverse mortgage. I'm going to get into some examples here in a little bit and show you how this works. But like I mentioned earlier, if you're 62, okay, you can borrow about 50%. If you're closer to 90, you can borrow about 70%. Okay. So yes, there is a large down payment required on these loans. I'm going to show you what this looks like again momentarily. Some people mentioned earlier in the poll that they believe a reverse mortgage is complicated, and I don't disagree. If you get into the weeds of a reverse mortgage, it can be complicated. Okay. But this is why it can be complicated, and that is because it's very flexible. Okay. How one accesses or harvests cash from equity are really three different ways, or one of three, or a combination. You could do what's called a lump sum distribution, give you all the money up front, a line of credit, which allows you to access the funds on demand. It's also non-recourse, and it's guaranteed to grow, which means the amount of money, I'm going to show you a chart here next, but the amount of money in the line of credit grows every year. Okay. So this is a great tool for folks who don't need the money today. I don't need the money, Gabe. I don't need a reverse mortgage. I own my home free and clear. Awesome. You probably could benefit from a reverse mortgage. Put the line of credit in place, allow it to grow. You're not charged interest on what you don't use, and then access it on demand. Remember, I mentioned only 7% of seniors have long-term care, but 70% are going to need it. This line of credit is a great tool for seniors to convert their usable home equity to tax-free cash on demand when they need it, in case they need long-term care. Okay. Or they can receive monthly payments. They can set up what's called a 10-year payment, which is for life, or a term payment for a fixed amount of time. So again, I don't disagree. These loan programs can be complicated because there's so much flexibility. So what we try to do, and I try to do, is when I meet with your client, I ask a lot of questions, right? What are your goals? What are your needs? What are your dreams? So that we can figure out the best structure and the best strategy to put these loans into place, because they don't know. At the end of the day, they don't know all of what you know or all of what I know, but we try to structure it. It's sort of like a Swiss Army knife, right? You go, if I'm going to, if I've got a hangnail, I'm going to pull out my tweezers from the Swiss Army knife, right? I'm not going to pull out the sharp blade to deal with a hangnail potentially. There's just a lot of different tools within this toolbox that we have to use the right way. Okay. With that, I mentioned the line of credit is a growing line of credit. So this is just an example. If somebody is 62, they have a home that's worth about $600,000, they can get a line of credit about $223,506. Again, they're not charged interest on this money. It's just like a traditional HELOC, right? Or a home equity line of credit. Excuse me. So the money sits there and they can access it when they want. Couple things that are different than a HELOC. Number one, it grows. Number two, it's guaranteed for life. Number three, when they go to use it, they're not required to make a payment. So a lot of advisors tell their clients to get a HELOC in case of emergency, right? So let's just say you've got a 62-year-old client, owns their home free and clear. They go get a HELOC, and 10 years later, they're 72, and boom, now they need the HELOC. Generally speaking, most HELOCs expire, meaning the draw period is not available anymore after the first 10 years. That doesn't exist on a reverse line of credit. That is guaranteed for life. Okay. You turn the clocks back to 2008, and I don't know how many of you or how many of your clients receive letters in the mail that says, oh, I'm so sorry to let you know, but because the market, we're going to freeze your line of credit, your home equity line of credit, right? Because we're concerned about home values. That does not exist in a reverse line of credit. It is guaranteed. So once again, these are awesome financial tools for folks as they age. They have access to more equity, which is when they need it the most. So let's fast forward this 62-year-old client, 27 years, with a 4% home appreciation, which is NAR's historical average nationally. You get now that line of credit has grown to basically the same as the home value. Okay, look at this. Fast forward some more, that line of credit has grown beyond the value of the home. Now, some people might look at this and go, wow, Gabe, that's a really bad thing. The borrower can actually access more equity than there actually is in the home. That would be terrible. And I look at that and go, why would that be terrible? You look at it like a cash value life insurance policy. If anybody understands cash value life insurance, let's say you pay $5,000 a year. Okay. Over 10 years, that's $50,000. Over 20 years, that's $100,000. Okay. Or, what did I say that right? Over 5 years, that's, what did I say? $5,000 a year. I can't remember the numbers anymore that I said, but let me back up. So you spend $5,000 a year, 10 years, it's 50,000, right? So over $5,000 a year times 20 years is 100,000. That's how much money you've put into your cash value life insurance. But the value of cash value life insurance is that in 10 years, yes, you may have put 50,000, but it's worth more to you if you take it out, and it's worth a lot more to you if you die. Okay. And in 20 years from now, you put in 100,000. The hope is that you could pull out 150,000. Who's losing? Nobody's losing. You've given money to the insurance company. They've invested that money. They've made money. And in exchange, you're getting that return on investment. Same thing here. Okay. Same thing here. This line of credit is an awesome, awesome strategy. Again, I love when clients turn to me and say, Gabe, I don't need a reverse mortgage. I own my home free and clear. I've got $500,000 of equity. And I'm like, great. What can you do with that equity? Becomes silent. Nothing. Exactly right. That's the problem that exists, is literally you can't do anything with the equity. Someday you can sell your house and extract some equity. Fine. But if people want to age in place, okay, they have to live somewhere. You can't do anything with the equity. So the reverse mortgage literally allows one to convert a portion of that equity to usable tax-free cash. Okay, let's keep going here. I mentioned the fact earlier that at age 62, you can borrow about 45 to 50%. And this is, as you read the bottom of the slide, this is age-based, this is interest rate-based, this is based on loan program and home values. So it's about 50, 55% down payment for someone who's 62, a large down payment, okay? By the time they're age 72, it's reduced. And by the time they're age 82, it's reduced. So the older someone is, the lower the down payment is. What we use as a general rule of thumb, and what I want you guys to walk away with, is somewhere around 50%. Somewhere around 50% down payment required. Let me do the hard work to determine the exact amount. But for you guys, somebody comes to you, and I'll again show you some numbers here. You guys, I just want you to think about and know that it takes about 50% as a down payment to get a reverse mortgage. Then they can borrow the other 50% utilizing a reverse mortgage, not have to make mortgage payments. So let's look at this comparison, okay? Because this is the argument that I get sometimes from folks, is that a reverse mortgage is expensive. they have to come up with a lot of money down, right? We just said 50%. So you look at Deborah. Deborah is looking to purchase a home for around 600,000, and she's looking at several different loan options. Okay, the graph shows that if Deborah were to buy a house for $600,000 with 20% down, that's 120K. Okay, and these rates, just an estimate, but let's just say she got a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 3% interest rate. Okay, that's about $2,023 and change a month. So what people don't think about when they go into a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in retirement is that it's not costing you $120,000 up front and $2,000 a month. What this is actually costing you is close to $850,000 to buy this house. Okay. And I'm not saying don't buy the house, don't get me wrong. But when people come and say, Gabe, I've got the money, but this is really a lot. This is very expensive. Right. And I go, well, is it in comparison? You're going to spend almost $850,000 to buy this house over time. Right. Or you could buy it with cash. It's going to spend $600,000, which is obviously less. But now you've got a lot of this, which you can't do anything with. Right. Now, reverse mortgage you can buy with about $306,000 at 62 years old. Okay. So again, I just want you guys to know that your clients have options. And in this case, this actually is the cheapest option, believe it or not, compared to a cash purchase or 20% down. Okay. So just opening your eyes to that. Let's look at a recent scenario with a client upsizing or relocating to Colorado. Okay. And we're seeing this more and more. I think somebody actually was talking about this beginning of the meeting today, but people relocating to Colorado. Why? Quality of life, being closer to kids, grandkids, whatever it is, right? More affordable in some cases, believe it or not, than California or East Coast. So in this case, you've got a reload client, excuse me, who comes to you and says, hey, Catherine, I'm moving to Colorado. I own my home free and clear. I'm selling it for just under $200,000. And in my examples, please excuse the fact that I'm kind of not including fees for simplicity of math. But we're selling my house or our house for about $200,000. We're coming to Colorado and we want to buy something. And you're like, okay, where? You're not going to buy it here, right? Not in Northern Colorado, at least. So you are able to get to, and let's just say 400,000, we can help you find something, right? And they're like, well, we don't have 400. We've got, close to 200. Okay. So again, in this case, 65 years old, they're able to buy a $400,000 house with about $197,000 down payment and no mortgage payments for the rest of their life. So once again, they could sell their current home and purchase a new home for double, which I'm not saying to go sell them more of a house and get them to buy a more expensive house. But you guys know some cases people are upsizing, some cases people are relocating, and it just simply costs more here than other places. And they don't have the cash to do it. And they don't want a mortgage payment in retirement. This is a great solution for them to buy the house that they want and they need in the neighborhood that they want and not have a mortgage payment. Okay. Let's look at downsizing. Okay. It's happening. Got clients that are, they've got a ranch, they've got land, and they've got more maintenance than they want, right? They've got multiple stories, bi-level, tri-level, whatever it is. And they want to move to a ranch style home, single story, whatever it is, downsizing. So you've got a client here. Okay. Owns her home free and clear, $800,000. Okay. Now in her case, she not only wanted to downsize, but she wanted to actually help her grandchildren pay for college. And I love this because at the end of the day, so many people come into my office and say, Gabe, I want to leave a legacy for my kids and my grandkids. That's great. You can leave equity behind, okay? And then they can sell your house and they can inherit the proceeds of your house. That's fine. Or you can convert some equity to usable tax-free cash and give that to them today where they can actually use it today, You can see them utilizing it today, right? You could be a part of that legacy today, right? You can experience that with them today. And at the end of the day, you and I know that $100 is worth more today to them than in 30 years when you pass away and they don't need the money anymore, because the grandkids are going to be out of college by then, right? If they were able to even go to college and afford it. So anyway, with this example, this client wanted to downsize and use some cash to help the grandkids. So she was able to sell this $800,000 house, go downsize into a $500,000 house. Okay. She put $229,500 as a down payment. Okay. And she had over $570,000 cash left over. Okay. That's a huge shift in her lifestyle. $800,000 of this, $800,000 of home equity. Great. House rich, cash poor. Okay. Moved into a nice home, age appropriate, and ended up with over $570,000 cash with no mortgage payment that she could live off of, gift to the kids, the grandkids, take care of college, no problem, and be a part of that today while she's alive. So big opportunities for you guys to help clients fulfill their dreams while they're alive and be part of that legacy planning while they're alive, as opposed to waiting till they're no longer here. Property eligibility. A couple other basic things that I want to cover with reverse mortgages. 1 to 4 unit properties. I've actually had clients purchase multifamily homes, live in one side or live in one unit, and rent out the other units for cash flow and income. Totally allowed with a FHA reverse mortgage. Manufactured home, it's got to be a double wide built after June 15th, 1976. Condos must be FHA approved. Okay. If the association is not FHA approved, we can sometimes do a single unit approval. Planned new developments, townhouses, and properties held in a living trust, not a problem except in Texas, which we're not doing anything, you and I, in Texas, but you can absolutely have it in a living trust, not a problem. Okay. Rural properties are acceptable as well. Just some different requirements. These follow a lot. If you talk to your in-house lending folks, again, property guidelines follow a lot of the traditional FHA property guidelines. Some interesting things that are, again, unique to FHA reverse mortgages is there are absolutely no seller concessions allowed on a reverse for purchase or HECM for purchase. You may see this acronym H for P or HECM for purchase. There are no seller concessions. I don't know why. We've been fighting it for years. Hopefully FHA changes the rules on it, but no lender credits, no realtor credits, no seller credits. It's just not allowed. No builder credits if it's a new construction. Sellers can pay for traditional closing costs that are traditionally, again, paid by the seller. Owner's title insurance, home warranty, and so forth. Transfer taxes and any of that you guys negotiate traditionally in the contract can be paid for by the seller. But if you get into one of these things that it's just a $4,000 seller credit toward buyer's closing costs, not allowed. Don't put it into the contract. Just simply reduce the purchase price. Okay. If a home inspection is listed on the contract, then we will require a copy of the home inspection for review. We are looking for health and safety concerns. Okay. At the end of the day, these loans are for seniors. Okay. We are looking for health and safety concerns. All right. New construction. Whoops. Excuse me. New construction. Why is that moving so on me? I don't know. Hold on. Let me see if I can. My slide doesn't want to stay. I don't know what happened there. Let me do this. Let me take it out of presentation mode for a second. I don't know why that's fast forwarding on me, but hopefully you guys can see the slide here. Okay. We do pre-qualify the buyer up front. We do provide a pre-approval letter, and then the application is completed once the property is completed. Okay. At the end of the day, builders actually, once they learn how the reverse mortgage works, builders really like this program a lot because it can increase their sales price, believe it or not, and it can increase their add-ons. And when I say add-ons, I'm talking about, upgrades, right? Because at the end of the day, if you consider the fact that the buyer is coming to closing with 50% and we're financing 50% with a reverse mortgage, then that means any upgrade, they're paying 50 cents on the dollar. Right? Literally any upgrade, they're paying 50% on the dollar. I actually had clients recently, well, it's probably been over a year now, moved to Mariana Butte, new build on the golf course. They moved from Louisville, went to Mariana Butte, and they went bonkers with the upgrades. Because once they realized the value of how this worked, like, you mean we can get the granite countertops, we can get the maple wood cabinets, we can get this upgraded fireplace and appliances and the bathroom fixtures? Absolutely. 50 cents on the dollar out of pocket and never have to worry about the rest. So again, builders love that because they can quite honestly, push more upgrades. All right, let's keep going here. Yep, it moved on its own. So financial assessment. Remember I talked about early on in the conversation that in the old days, prior to 2008, if you fogged a mirror, you were 62 and had enough equity, you can get a reverse mortgage. That has, again, since changed. We go through this financial assessment to determine the willingness and capacity of the borrower to meet their financial obligations. So we are looking at a credit report to see, how have you done with paying back your liabilities over time? We're not looking at a minimum credit score like a traditional FHA loan, but how have you done with borrowing money and repaying it? Do you have enough income coming in to cover your expenses, property tax, home insurance, home maintenance, and such? Okay. If not, do you have assets that we can dissipate to produce an income to then cover the expenses? We've got a lot of flexibility on this. Okay. The result of that financial assessment will ultimately be not just do they qualify, but is there a required set aside? Okay, a set aside is like a impound account or an escrow account for taxes and insurance. So under these programs, typically the homeowner is going to pay their own property taxes and home insurance and not in an impound account because we're not collecting payments monthly, right? So the set aside basically is this. It says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, if you haven't shown a great history of repaying your debts on time, or if you've had late payments on your mortgage historically, or if you filed bankruptcy recently or foreclosure or so forth and so on, we're going to then utilize a portion of your equity. We'll set it aside for you, and we're going to end up paying your taxes and insurance for you out of that account. Okay. So we're utilizing some of the equity to cover the property taxes and insurance payments in the future. Okay. We're going to get into some other more exciting things here in just a second, but reverse mortgage information a little bit more. These are again administered by FHA. And according to HUD, more than 500,000 households across the nation have been utilizing reverse mortgages successfully. Okay. We talked about the amount of money available on a reverse mortgage is really determined by the age of the youngest homeowner. The older someone is, the more equity they can borrow, current rates, and home value up to the current FHA maximum lending limit, which is $822,375 today. We've just recently changed from the LIBOR index to the CMT. Not really that important for you guys to know, but we do have monthly adjustable, annual adjustable, and fixed rate options. I want to talk about something that's kind of interesting here, and then I'm going to get into a few examples that I, again, want you guys to be able to walk away today and apply some things. But this is what I call the 3 buckets and the sacred cow of home equity. Okay. At the end of the day, hopefully you can see my laser pointer here. The end of the day, I want you to focus on the top half of this slide for now. Okay. Any of us who are still working, whether that's 18 to 61 years old or not, any of us who are still working, okay, we've got these 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is income. Bucket 2 is nest egg, and bucket 3 is home equity. Now, again, all of us have this if you own a home. Okay. So as we're working, we're producing an income, and whether that's 1099, or W-2, doesn't really matter. We're producing an income and we're spending out of this bucket, right? Now, our financial advisors have also told us, hey, Gabe, if you want to retire someday, you've got to put 5 to 20% of your income into this bucket here so that you can build a nest egg, right? That may be 401k, stocks, bonds, life insurance, cash value, CDs. I've had people buy cars, cows, literally you name it, whatever it is that you're interested in, you're putting money into here so that someday you can retire. Okay. And if you own a home, right, you're making a mortgage payment, you're taking cash literally out of this bucket and you're putting it over into this bucket here and you're converting cash to home equity. Right? We've established the fact that this is home equity, this is cash. So you're taking your cash and building home equity. Fine. Now, this is the problem that I see in the current retirement model. Current retirement model says this. Well, when you go to retire and your income is reduced, how do you maintain your lifestyle? Oh, well, remember, we built this nest egg over here, which will help produce supplemental income, right? So the traditional retirement model says you need to put enough money over here so that you can pull money out, supplement your income in retirement with the hope that someday when you die, you will not run out of money before you die, effectively, right? That someday you will again have enough money built up here to not run out of money before you die. That's our current retirement model. And oh, by the way, when you pull money out of here, you're then going to pay taxes. The only two things really in this bucket that you don't pay taxes on are cash value life insurance and a Roth IRA. I don't know of anything else that goes into this bucket up here that isn't taxed coming out down here. So a lot of people don't realize the taxes in retirement are absolutely killer. Okay, because all that money you put into your 401k over the years, whether it's a SEP, IRA or whatever you guys are putting money into, someday, because you put it in pre-tax in most cases, is tax coming out the other end. Okay, so the challenge is, how do you know how long you're going to live? How do you know what life expenses are going to be? Right? So people inherently decrease their spending in retirement to ensure that this bucket lasts them long enough, whatever long enough means. Or people work longer to not tap into this bucket as early, right? So people are now working longer so that this doesn't run out before they die. Or they reduce their spending, like I said, so they don't run out before they die. In the last, 4 or 5 minutes that I've talked about the current retirement model, I didn't mention any of this home equity, right? You spent thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you remember that client that we did the 3 different loan options, and she could buy a house cash, $600,000, or get a traditional mortgage for $850,000. She was spending almost $850,000 of cash over the years to build this. And what I get bothered about in our retirement planning model is that nobody is talking about this. And what people inherently say when I sit down with them is, oh, I'm going to leave it to my kids. And you're going to leave your kids your largest asset, and you're going to reduce your lifestyle. You're going to reduce your spending. You're going to cut out Netflix, for goodness sake, out of your budget, right? So that your kids can inherit your house someday. And I bet you ask 100 of your clients, are your kids going to move into your house? 99 out of 100 will say no. Because by the time you die, and God willing, you're 80, 85, 90 years old, right? Your kids are going to be 55, 60 years old too, 70 years old, right? And they don't need your house. They don't want your house. They're not going to move into your house. So there is an absolute disconnect, in my opinion, in our current retirement model that is talking about, well, we're just going to leave the house to the kids and we're going to reduce our spending in retirement so our kids can inherit the house. And I just think it's broken, guys. I really do. I really think that model needs to change, because at the end of the day, if you can convert some of your home equity safely to usable tax-free cash, the outcome will truly be you pay less in taxes in retirement because you're not pulling out more money from this bucket than you need to. As the money stays in there longer, what inherently happens with compounding? It grows. So as you stop pulling more money than you need here, you pay less in taxes and it grows. Okay. As you pull money out of here, we also talked about the fact that this is tax-free. And so what? Someday, right? Someday, if you use all the equity in your house and there's nothing to leave over here, but you leave something over here, that's okay too. But the problem is, once you run out of money here, what next? Once you run out of money here, what next? Inherently, people then come over here and go, okay, Gabe, now I have to get a reverse mortgage. And go, well, I'll help you. I understand the problem. But if you had done this 5, 10, 15 years earlier, we could have preserved some of this money here. We could have saved you some money in taxes. At the end of the day, why not strategically use some of this home equity sooner rather than later to protect and preserve this bucket, if nothing else? Okay. I want to pause there. I've got several more slides and some examples, but I want to pause there and just ask to see if there's any questions, Catherine, in the chat, or if anybody wants to unmute, because I really think that this is inherently part of the problem, is that there's a disconnect in how we're doing retirement today. If there's no questions or comments, that's totally fine. I'll move on in a minute. But I just wanted to open it up to see if anybody had any thoughts at the moment.
We don't have any in the chat.
Okay, no worries. I'll keep going then. So the slide's a little bit, termed a little poorly, but I'm not expecting you to be the reverse expert necessarily, but I want you to know enough to be dangerous to help your clients, right? So let's look at this 65-year-old client who's looking at selling their home for $500,000. Again, assuming no fees for a second, just for simplicity, they've got no mortgage. They're going to walk away with $500,000 cash. Okay. They go to purchase a new home for $350,000, and based on their age, they can put $172,550 as a down payment. So they're putting $172,550 as a down payment. Okay, about 50%, right, of the $350,000 purchase price. They're putting about 50%. We're funding about 50% to get them to that new purchase price. At the end of the day, this client who sells that house for $500,000 puts $172,500 down, and they've got now $327,500 cash in hand. Now you can apply these numbers, 6, 7, 800, $1 million, whatever you want. The point is not about the numbers. The point is that we've got a lot of clients out there who are not in age-appropriate homes for aging in place and for retirement. Help them realize, okay, they might have $500,000 of this and they're not able to live their life, right? They've got $500,000 of equity and they're not able to live a good life in retirement, and they might not be in the right house. Help them sell that house, convert some of that equity to usable cash. This is a life changer. This client now has over $327,000 cash with no monthly mortgage payment. It is an absolute life changer for you guys to help a seller become a buyer and have some cash. That was 65. Let's look at this 75-year-old client. Sells a $700,000 home, pays a $200,000 mortgage off, still ends up with $500,000 cash. This client could, remember, we talked about they can get a traditional mortgage, pay cash, or get a reverse mortgage. This client could pay cash for this house. Okay, she's got enough to do it. However, you come in and say, hey, look, hold on a second. Before you do that and take all your cash and convert it to equity that you can't do anything with, let's slow down. Maybe you take $213,000, get a reverse mortgage, buy that same $500,000 house, and now you've got $287,000 cash to live off of. Okay, what's wrong with that? Right? What's wrong with that? At the end of the day, we're helping people live a better quality of life as they age in retirement, and they can use that cash for whatever they want, right? They can help kids, the grandkids with college. They can go travel, whatever it is. Okay. So how does it work? Got a couple, both age 62, recently sold their homes and the proceeds were $450. They've got no other assets. They want a home closer to the kids and the grandkids and the doctors, and they come to you and they find a townhouse listed at $500,000 and they can't afford it, right? At the end of the day, they do not have enough money to buy that townhouse, but you think it's a great house for them. So how do we apply this? Okay. Based on their ages, okay, they can get a loan of $297,600. They bring around $302,400 cash to close, not including closing costs, but again, keeping things simple, which leaves them $147,600 left over. And they were able to buy that $500,000 house that they didn't have enough money for. This literally just happened to me recently. I had a client in Denver who was selling a house around $1 million. Okay. Based on their mortgage balance and based on their proceeds, they were about $50K short to buy the next house. And their realtor came to me and said, "Hey, Gabe, can you do a reverse mortgage for $50,000? I said, "Yes, I can." But they ended up buying a house for, it was about 630. And in the end, I ended up getting them a reverse mortgage for about $300,000. And the realtor was like, "Well, hold on a second. They don't need 300. They just need 50. And I said, "Yeah, but you see, I'm going to give them $50,000 to buy the house today, but I'm also going to give them $250,000 in a line of credit that they can access in the future with no additional fees or interest until they use it with no required payback." And the realtor and the buyers were blown away because not only did it help them get that house that they needed and wanted that they didn't have enough cash for, but it gave them a huge lifestyle change in that house. So another example, buyers age 60 listed their home for sale for 400 minus fees. In this case, they're going to net 376 and they've only got about 15,000 in savings. Okay. Interested in a new home for 375 and want no mortgage payment. And the house isn't selling. Okay. And you recommend to drop the list price. And maybe this isn't happening today. You know, this is, I recognize that the market today is probably not doing a lot of price reductions, but nonetheless, I anticipate it'll happen again. We'll move back to a more normalized market at some point. But you recommend dropping the price by $10,000 and the client's going to net less, right? And in that case, they're not going to have enough money to buy this new house. And the client balks at it and says, "No way. I'm not going to reduce my price. I don't have enough money to buy that next house if I reduce my price." Okay. So, you know, as the realtor, excuse me, and the trusted advisor, you have to drop that price. And if you drop that price, the house will sell. Okay. If not, house is going to sit on the market and probably won't sell. So you come in with the solution. Okay. And you go, okay, you can drop the price by 10K. And here's what we're going to do on the new purchase. You're going to buy the house. You're going to get a reverse mortgage loan. You're going to be able to borrow 186. And in that case, you're only going to need 189,000 for the down payment. So not only are you able to help that client buy the more expensive house that they wanted, get the 10K price reduction that's needed to sell the house, but in this case, they're going to be able to have $177,000 cash left over to live with the 10K price reduction. So again, these are just a few examples of where I want you guys to understand the value of being able to come in, help your client know that this is a great, safe, viable option for them. Okay. A couple other things. Can help your clients buy in a 55 plus community, increase their overall purchasing power and flexibility. Okay, we showed you a few examples of where people might be relocating. They don't have the cash to buy what they need or they want in the area. This can allow them to do that. Once again, no monthly mortgage payments. They've got to continue to pay taxes and insurance and maintenance. And let me just pause there for a second, because a lot of clients move into retirement with the goal of not having a mortgage payment. And I think where people get confused is that you don't have to be mortgage free to not have a mortgage payment, right? Yes, you could pay off your 30-year mortgage and not have a mortgage balance and not have a payment. Fine. Great. You've got a lot of this home equity again, right? But this allows you to not have a mortgage payment and not be completely, heavily weighted in the equity bucket and be more balanced with having some cash in that nest egg. Okay. Helping people move closer to family, better weather, or more appropriate home. Okay. We're seeing this a lot where people are looking to move in retirement for any one of these reasons, and they feel stuck. They just feel stuck in their home because they don't know what options they have. They can't qualify for a traditional mortgage. They don't want a mortgage payment, and they don't have the cash to get the next house. Okay. Keeping in mind, you can purchase a home for anywhere from 50 to 70% down payment, age-based, and we can close in as little as 17 business days. I don't put this up because I want you to come to me with a contract for 17 business days, but just know that a lot of people think that FHA loans take longer. That's not the case. We have a designated, again, reverse division that just focuses on this so that we can ensure our purchase transactions are pushed to the front of the line and we can close on time. So a couple more slides and then we'll be done. Another poll question for anybody who might have fallen asleep. I apologize, but if you don't mind putting in the chat for me, but out of everything that you've heard from me today, what do you like most? Was it the optional payments? Was it a way to build family wealth and legacy? Some of the tax advantages? We didn't really talk about too many tax advantages yet. Or was it saving money in that bucket too, that nest egg? Remember I talked about use some of the home equity to preserve money in that nest egg so that it'll last you longer. It'll grow, right? Reduce the tax liability by limiting the amount of money you pull out of that. So if you don't mind, just shoot in the chat. If you have an opinion, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And Catherine, again, if you don't mind, in a second or two, just kind of let me know what you're seeing there.
Ellie. Yeah, so I'm seeing some 2s, 4s, some 1s, a comment to use the money you have in your home for yourself instead of leaving it for your children.
Love it.
Yep,
Yeah, love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Whoever wrote that, I really appreciate you saying that because your children don't want your house. Again, statistically speaking, 99% of the time, the children are going to sell the house, pay off whatever mortgage balance is there, pay off whatever debt is remaining, if there is any, and take the cash, if the equity and whatnot. They don't want the house. So that's where this disconnect really comes into play. So use the equity for yourself, live a better quality of life. I will be very transparent with you and tell you, I've convinced my mom, stop trying to save your money for my brother and I and our kids. We don't want it. We want you to live a better quality of life, right? You want to leave something for your kids. Let's rephrase that. Let's retweak this. And we actually went on an awesome family vacation. My mom paid for it. She's in her late 70s now. And we went to Key West and we rented a house for almost a week in Key West. My brother's got 3 kids. I've got 2 and my mom, and we spent a week in Key West together in like a Airbnb or VRBO. And she paid for the whole trip. And this was December before COVID, literally just over a year ago. And it was the most amazing memory, not just for her, but for my kids and my brother's kids, right? Because at the end of the day, my kids will remember that trip with their grandmother, right? More than in, God willing, 20 years from now when she passes, inheriting some money, right? That life experience that we had together and just the memories we created were priceless. And she was able to do that. And had she not, it just would, again, it's a different type of a memory and legacy. Last polling question. Last one, I promise. Has this seminar changed your mind about reverse mortgage? Remember, I started early on and there weren't many people, if any, bringing these up to their clients, their senior clients as an option. And in many cases, people were thinking, you might lose the house, leave a large liability and a big problem for the kids. So number one, has this seminar changed your mind about reverse mortgages? Either one, not really, still don't like them, rather have equity than cash. Number two, maybe the windows open a little bit more. Or three, this will change my life and my client's life. This is a much bigger deal than I thought. And I'm not assuming that I'm going to get 100% of you saying three. I don't expect that. Believe me, I've been around long enough to know that's virtually impossible, but please be honest and please share with me. If it's one, two, or three, just put in the chat for me, just so I can have an understanding of where you guys are today in your mind and your thoughts around this, because I am a huge believer that reverse mortgages are an amazing tool. They are safe. They're so flexible. Again, we didn't talk a lot about the tax strategies, but as you guys know, mortgage interest is tax deductible in the year it's paid, right? So pause on that. I'm going to come back to it because I've got another 5 minutes or so. Catherine, if you don't mind, how many ones, twos, and threes do you see? Do you see much there?
Yeah. Quite a few responses, actually, mostly twos and threes or 2-3. So they're somewhere in the middle there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys. Again, this isn't about me. This is about you and your clients. This is hopefully giving you another tool in your toolbox so that when you've got a client age 62 or over that you sit down with as a buyer or a seller, you have another way to look at their situation to help them live a better quality of life in retirement. And inherently, it'll help you too, but really it is about them. And it's changed my life. I will tell you, the satisfaction that I get of sitting down with a client and helping them realize they can live a better quality of life today, they can help their kids and their grandchildren today, they can improve their longevity, financial longevity, by doing this, even when they don't need it. Because there are a lot of people out there who have concerns in retirement, right? Who are concerned about running out of money before they die. They're concerned about losing a spouse and that income, right? And that's something that many, many people don't think about and don't know. But you lose a spouse in retirement and you're going to lose about 40% of your household income. And your lender, no offense, is not going to call you up and say, I'm so sorry for your loss. We're going to reduce your mortgage payment for you now because you've lost your spouse. And we know you've lost 40% of your household income. It doesn't happen. That's why this is a great option for folks to go into what would otherwise be an equivalent forbearance plan and a payment optional mortgage. So again, I really appreciate the feedback. I said I'd come back to this one thought really quickly, and that is this. We all know that mortgage interest is tax deductible in the year it's paid. Okay, I'm going to do some quick math here, but let's just assume someone has a $300,000 mortgage at 3%. Easy math, $9,000. Okay, take a $400,000 mortgage times 3%. Easy math, $12,000. Okay, I don't know what the standard deduction is today, but last year, if I'm not mistaken, the standard deduction was over $24,000 for a married couple. Okay. If you have a $400,000 mortgage or less, you may no longer even be making or paying enough mortgage interest to itemize your taxes or make it worth itemizing your taxes. Many people in retirement don't have tax deductions, right? So the mortgage interest in many cases is their only tax deduction. If they've got $12,000 in mortgage interest, they're not itemizing. Right? They're taking the standard deduction, which means that interest is a waste of money. Literally, it's a waste of money. They're taking cash and throwing it away, giving it to the lender, okay? Because they're not getting a deduction or anything. Think about this conceptually for a second. Let's take that same $12,000, $400,000 loan at 3%. Multiply that by 3 years. You got $36,000 of deferred interest. Okay. Remember, I said with reverse mortgages, payments are optional. So let's just say for a second that homeowner in 3 years from now ends up with a tax liability for capital gains taxes, selling a rental property, required minimum distributions, whatever the scenario is. In 3 years from now, they can take cash, pay back some of that mortgage interest, create a tax deduction in that tax year, which is now greater than the standard deduction to offset potential tax liability. Okay. So now they're utilizing the reverse mortgage strategically to their situation as they see fit. So lots of flexibility, lots of options. I don't want to get in the weeds right now. This has really been a great opportunity for me to be able to share this. I love seeing that I've moved some of you guys to a 2 and a 3. So thank you for that. Last, I'll just tell you guys, you might see Tom Selleck on TV late night. He's a good looking guy, better looking than me, makes a lot of money. And AAG, the company he represents, is a very good company. But in my opinion, when you get into a situation that like this, you've got a senior client, these are complicated. Clients need hand-holding, right? They want to sit down with clients face to face. I suggest working with someone local like myself, okay? There are other people out there. I'm not the only one. Just please work with someone local, work with someone who's a specialist, work with someone who really focuses and services as a full service lender in the reverse mortgage space. With that, next time a 62-year-old buyer walks into your office, why not mention the option of a HECM for purchase or reverse for purchase? Thank you for your time. Hopefully I've ended on time. Really do appreciate the opportunity, you guys. And with that, I'll wrap up and open it up for questions.
Hey, Gabe, thank you very much. That was awesome. I appreciate it. And yeah, you were right on time. We got 3 minutes to go. So if anybody has any questions.
We had one in the chat.
Yeah, it says, I'm 34. Should I think about this as part of my retirement strategy?
Great question. First of all, I've talked to financial advisors about incorporating this into their financial planning conversations with younger folks, 30, 34, 35, 40, 50, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm in my mid 40s myself. I can't wait to get a reverse mortgage. You know, literally, I look forward to the day where I no longer have to make a mortgage payment. So my strategy today is pay my mortgage down enough, right? Have enough equity in my house so that someday when I go to get a reverse mortgage, I can do that, right? But I don't have a goal personally of paying my mortgage off. I would rather take my cash and put it into bucket 2, into a life insurance policy or a cash account or a money market account, whatever that is, as opposed to take my cash and build equity today. So yes, great question. And I would absolutely say you should and consider this as part of your retirement strategy. You're just about 28 years away.
Outstanding. Any other questions, guys? All right. Hey, Gabe, we greatly appreciate you taking the time to present that to us. So you crunched a 2-hour presentation down into about an hour and 25 minutes. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I was a little fast, but
oh, you're great. You're great. We've got all your contact information. We'll get it out to everybody. We've also recorded this session, so we'll send it out to everybody just in case they didn't get a chance to watch it, or 2, they because of your amazing speed, they missed something. They'll be able to watch it again. So thank you very much. We look forward to working with you in the future. And if anybody has any other questions, definitely reach out to Gabe. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Go sell something.